never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life.
Good morning, Matt.
Hi, Rob, and welcome to Dungeon Master of None.
That's right. This is Dungeon Master of None, and you are listening to our second episode of the Van Richten Spooktacular, where we're talking about the newest Wizards of the Coast book, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, all things spooky and dreadful and terrifying.
Yeah, last episode we skipped heading into the loft itself, and this time we're diving deep into the loft. The domains of dread, the different campaign places, settings that you can use from this book.
Yeah, this is the core of the book. It's the longest chapter, and it's very, very rich with information and hooks and villains and locations and maps and all kinds of good stuff. The rest of the book is terrific, as we discussed in our last episode, but this is the meat. This is the center of the calzone, the juicy soup of our soup dumpling. It's the center of the gobstopper. It's what we're looking for. This is what it's all about.
I counted 4 bad metaphors there.
I had a lot more.
Okay.
I have way more than that, but I thought I'd stop. Gusher.
Thank you.
The juicy center of our gusher that is Van Richten's Guide. I know a lot of pocket foods. I could name pocket foods all day. Someone
get Rob some lunch so we can.
Sorry, everybody.
We can talk about this. So if you're unfamiliar with the idea of Ravenloft, just a refresher, right? That Ravenloft is not a single world or a planet or a cosmos. It's in one demi-plane dimension, and there are various domains, each controlled by a terrible, evil Dark Lord, all manipulated by the jailers, the dark powers, which torment them inside a land or a region, a continent, even as small as a city or a single train. And these are all connected by mists that maybe you can use to travel between them, but there's no real, at least in this edition, geography to the domains. They're all sort of scattered about, and I like that a lot. That's sort of a major flip from second edition.
Yeah.
The mists are supernatural and can take you anywhere. Why did we have to have a map of everything? It just made it confusing.
You don't need to know where. Yeah, just they can be that they transcend time and space. They are next to whatever you want them to be next to. You can travel as the story demands. You know, the mists will spit you out wherever it makes sense.
The Dungeon Master plot device, the mists.
The mists. And again, it's good that they gave us such a tremendous plot device, because you can kind of do anything you want with it.
And what do we get in Chapter 3? We get about good details, a couple pages of really juicy stuff for about 17 of these domains of dread, including the titular, like Barovia, Ravenloft, but lots of other interesting ones, some new ones, some old ones, some ones that are dramatically revised. And then we have a couple pages of 20 more bonus domains and some interesting NPCs.
Yeah, there's 17 full descriptions or full descriptions. These vary in quality and detail. We'll discuss about that as we go forward, but those are the ones that are fully fleshed out, and they have a described Dark Lord with specific history and motivations, and then the much shorter ones that are basically, here's a location and here's the Dark Lord, figure out the rest for yourself. And these, like Matt said, some of these are familiar, they're returning, some of them are brand new, and some of them are old but with a new twist. And ultimately, okay, so like one concern that I had, you can go back and listen to our Domains of Dread episode from, I think, 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was a little concerned, having gone back through the Domains of Dread, that might just be a rehash of, or Van Richten might be, not too far removed from those old second edition books. This is brand new information. Everything has been updated, changed. There are new Dark Lords. Old Dark Lords have a twist. This is new, interesting, good. If you didn't like the old Domains of Dread, you will probably, you might be happy with this because it's not the same thing. If you liked the old Domains of Dread, you might not be happy with this, but just know that you're not getting... I think
you will be.
I think you will be, but either way, just know that this is worth, if you're a horror fan, if you like Ravenloft, you are not going to be disappointed, at least with the content you're receiving. They put effort and, they made changes. This is not just a, revision.
Sometimes Dungeons and Dragons books, I'm looking at you, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. You're like,
looking at you, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Yeah.
Maybe you should have just bought the 3rd edition Forgotten Realms campaign setting or something. That would have been a better use of your money. I would say that's not the case for this. Even just looking at the campaign gazetteer material.
Yeah.
I liked it.
No, this is a good use of your spooky dollar.
Let's dive into the domains in particular, and I think we should try and focus our thoughts, Rob, on like what's usable here, how we might run this, what we might steal from this, because no one is ever going to run all 17 of these, right? So let's focus on what you want to steal, what you want to use, which one you're like, oh, I might want to run an actual adventure arc or campaign in this one because of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. I would love to discuss all of these, but I'm going to try to restrain myself. I did not love every Domain of Dread, but about half of them I really liked, and I'm excited to talk about. And there are a few of those that there's one that I actually am inspired to write and run a campaign in, basically right now. That I'm going to either plan to put that in to an existing campaign or run it around Halloween time, but there are a lot of really good ones. So where do we want to start, Matt?
Well, I would say a lot of people might come here for Barovia, right? There's Strahd on the cover. There's some details on Barovia. This is a nice introduction to Barovia, but I mean, if you want to run Curse of Strahd or a campaign here, you might as well get the full adventure.
That's the thing. Barovia is great, and the section on Barovia is just fine, but the best introduction and the most detail that you will get on this Domain of Dread comes in the Curse of Strahd adventure, which remains a very, very good masterpiece adventure. One of my favorites, holds up pretty well. So if you're interested in Barovia, I would start there. This is good, some useful background adventure, or if you want to run a separate adventure in Barovia, or if you want to have your players visit but not stay. But if you're really interested in, again, the flagship, the titular story and setting, this is fine, but Curse of Strahd is where it's at.
Yeah, the one useful thing I would say here is if you want to have Strahd as an inter-domain villain whose vampiric tendrils reach out to maybe some of the other Ravenloft locations, there's some hints on how you could do that. If you're like, I want to run a Ravenloft campaign that goes to many domains, but eventually comes back to Strahd, you could.
Which is, I think, interesting and useful, and of the Dark Lords, Strahd has the most connections to other Dark Lords, and has, I suppose, probably the greatest reach, and he would be a good either somebody to influence or impact or have some sort of instigating role in another campaign, and that would be useful here. But otherwise, it's a little bit thin. Probably because all that information is very well contained in Curse of Strahd.
There's so much detail in Curse of Strahd.
Curse of Strahd tells you literally every single location in Barovia, plus NPCs.
There's only 5,000 people there.
Yeah, there's not very many people there, so it's not hard.
Most of them.
But yeah, it's all there.
The next one is Blutspur.
Blutspur.
Which we talked about before. It's a domain led by a Illithid or Mind Flayer Elder Brain, which is super great. Great alien cosmic horror campaign. One of the ideas I would steal from this one, right? And it has so much more detail than it did in second edition, right? It's like 6 times the length of the second edition.
We loved Blutspur in the old domains with Dread.
Oh, yeah, we did. We said that was one of our favorites.
No, but the thing was, it was kind of just a stub. It was like, here's the basic idea, but it didn't go
this
into
campaign setting is a stub. Would you consider expanding it?
And they did. The thing is, this is great. Blutspur now has so much more detail, and it's great. What was the idea you were saying you're going to steal?
Yeah, if it's something that like my players wanted to do in that sort of cosmic horror thing, one of the ideas is that whenever they arrive in Blutspur, they discover they've all been here before.
Yeah,
and then you can do
good.
The suggestion is to basically give them level 0 characters. It says, give them sidekicks. But if you have a level 0 character set of rules that you like to use that and have them play out an adventure of when they were first abducted to Blutspur and they discover these memories, and you play out the adventure, right? So it's not you telling them, it's them experiencing that, and whatever happens there will affect the storyline in the future. And it's like, if a character dies, the God Brain brings them back to life. If the character wants, they could then be a reborn, or they are brought back to life perfectly. And then what a great terror that, this has all happened before, it's happening again. Can we break the flat cycle? Yeah.
I love this. This is also such a good hook if your players are on board with it and it can fit into their backstory, is they start to have memories, right, of being somewhere else, being perhaps operated on by strange creatures,
this is your alien abduction campaign.
This is such, they've given us so much good stuff for psychological cosmic horror. I'm a huge fan of how you could either make this the start or like a whole campaign, or introduce it within your campaign. There's some good like X-Files stuff. Some of the evidence suggests like things like there's a device like buried under their skin that they are like, oh, I don't remember this. Like, where did this come from? Or a crater full of scorched crops. It's just, I love, you can go so many directions with this psychological horror, cosmic horror, just straight up like an alien abduction story. I also really like the Dark Lord, the God Brain, because it's cosmic, it's unknowable, but it's this ancient, extremely powerful, horrible mind flayer that's been inflicted with a curse of mortality, like a disease that will eventually kill it, right? So it's an immortal being that is constantly like aware that it is now going to die and trying to fend off that that outcome. It's not like super complicated in its motivations. It's sort of like alien and unknowing and terrible. I love it. Great.
The Galaxy Brain is great, and the suggestion of basically revealing this like through play is just a super great idea. Do a little bit of alien abduction. You can plop this one down almost anywhere that you want to have a cosmic psychological horror. The answers are out there.
They're out there,
and you'll
folks.
find them by going back in time and doing a 0th level adventure.
Yeah.
The next domain is Borka, which sees the return of Ivana Bortizi, the Poisoner, the Black Widow, and they've changed up her domain by adding a second Dark Lord, so that this domain can, instead of just being the domain of like the Black Widow who poisons people, can also be a domain of endlessly feuding noble houses.
Yeah. This was interesting. This wasn't one of my favorites, but I liked a few things about this a lot. And yeah, you've got Ivana Borizzi, who's the poisoner. They've fleshed out her background a bit and made her a little bit less of I'm a sexy poison lady, and now she's a sexy poison lady with motivations. And the second Dark Lord is her cousin, who unrightfully, ended up being the ruler of their house and their domain, and she's never recognized for her genius. And they are, not feuding. In fact, they avoid each other, but both of them, are prevented from fulfilling their ultimate goals. The other Dark Lord is
Ivan.
Cousin Ivan Deliznia.
Deliznia, yeah, that's right. And just a terrible, decrepit man in a giant clockwork bed.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Which is super scary.
Yeah, he's like freaky and horrible, and like he talks like a child, and he makes toys and traps people in horrible games. This is a real creep show of a domain of dread for sure.
And if I was going to steal stuff from this, like the list on page 82 of just the 12 noble houses of the domain, I feel like you're constantly given in whatever campaign you make or campaign setting you use. You're like, there's a lot of noble families in this kingdom. Here's a nice list you can steal. They're all full of flavor, and that's fun.
Well, and I loved this because I love intrigue, and I love this type of campaign. And if you go back and listen to our Patreon episode where we build a villain, my first villain was exactly this type of noble. And there's a list here of ignoble bonds, right? Of lethal leverage, where how nobles might gain leverage over the players, over other characters. And this is exactly what I had in mind. And I love these ideas, right? The contact provides characters with some, standout gear to use during a request, and then collects it afterwards to use as evidence. They go out of town, so the players have to sort of write something to them, something that can be used against them later. These are all subtle, clever ways to end up with leverage that can be used to blackmail or manipulate the players later. And there's all these ideas for how the nobles might entrap the players in their, games, their awful, horrible games and intrigues. This I like very much about Borka.
Yeah, there's Borka. The next domain is called the Gathering of the Juggalos, a.k.a. the Dark Carnival, a.k.a. the Carnival. And this one, it may have been in a supplement, but it's new to me.
Was it in a supplement? This is new to me.
I don't
as well.
think so, but it might be completely new. It's your traveling evil carnival that might ensnare the players, full of fey creatures, whose Dark Lord is a magic holy avenger sword, which is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. I gotta say, I love the idea of a traveling horror carnival. That's great. I didn't really love this, and I felt like this was all over the place. There's too much going on. There's a Eladrin paladin who wields this holy avenger that's actually an evil longsword, and there's this complicated backstory, and it all just seems kind of all over the place, and doesn't, I don't know, there's not actually enough about the carnival itself. It's a great idea, but honestly, you might as well just make your own horror carnival from scratch. But it's a good idea. Obviously, a carnival is a great setting for a domain of dread. I did not really think this got there.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory for this not Dark Lord. But if you want a carnival that could appear in any domain or transport players to the domains of dread, this is, I think, a good way to pull them into the mists. I don't understand exactly how I would run this villain. I mean, there's interesting parts to Isolde's backstory, but there's just a lot of complications here.
Yeah. Again, this would be a great transitory adventure, and it could be spooky, but what we're talking about. You know what a spooky carnival is like, and you're given a little bit of information about sideshows. but not that much. I wish they had spent more time on everybody else. There's so much more happening that could be interesting, and I feel like we're just not getting it, which is frustrating.
Yeah, like the person who wields this cursed Dark Lord longsword is like, I'm out to avenge my murdered companions. I was a slayer of demons. Now I'm running a carnival. Like I don't know.
This one needed another revision. It's just thematically all over the place. But A+ for a creepy carnival. That's a good idea for a domain of dread.
Yeah. Speaking of domains of dread, here's another domain of dread. It's Darkon. We're back to Darkon.
It's Darkon.
Hi,
folks.
Darkon.
All right.
Darkon major revisions.
Quick aside here, Matt. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen,
pause.
writers,
Time out.
dungeon masters, friends. I'm gonna institute a rule. You cannot name anything evil. You cannot use the word dark anywhere in your villain's name or your domain or your evil land. Dark and Rawl, Darkon, just don't. Okay, doesn't matter how much you dress it up. It looks dumb.
All right. I'm scratching out my villain known as Darko. AKA Donnie.
Sorry. That being said, so Darkon, Matt, this was one of your favorites from the previous domains, right?
Yeah, and Darkon's had a lot of changes through second edition, a lot of adventures set in it where, so this is the domain that was the headquarters of the Mad Lich Azalin, who like sort of knows what's going on and is trying to best the dark powers and escape. And throughout the years, like, there's been a couple of adventures and suggestions that, he might escape. There was an adventure that had something called the Requiem in it, where Aslan may have transformed himself into a demi-lich spirit. But the plot we're presented here is that Aslan is probably, truly, maybe, actually gone. The Hour of Ascension actually happened in this version of Darkon, and the land is now falling apart without its Dark Lord. The mists are reclaiming it. There's several smaller, not quite Dark Lords that could take over. And so the player characters are kind of given, hey, you could investigate Aslan's disappearance. You could go across the multiverse, try and track him down and bring him back so that the land is not destroyed. You could ascend another Dark Lord. Or you could, fight the mists or something. A really interesting idea. It turns Darkon into disaster horror instead of magical dark fantasy.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. It wasn't, again, one of my favorites, but there's a lot to work with here, and you could run a whole campaign here. You could run I think it suggests even like the climax of a campaign here. But like, it's sort of like a race against time with as much or as little as you need. The realm is falling apart without Azalin. There's all these things happening. There's a star in the sky. There's these 3 inheritors who are trying to either hold the realm together or ascend to the throne. There's Alcio Metis, a vampire. Darkalis Rex, this is great, who's basically a maybe revived ancient king, being put together by the head of an order of eternal order of wizards and librarians. And then there's Madame Tal is very Eris, who's a noblewoman, and these are all very interesting. I liked this bit in her story where she gets all of her like family and associates together and does a purge. It's they like take potions of invisibility and go do murders and crimes. It's great. It's great. So you can try to support one of these people.
It's a purge domain.
Yeah, it's a purge domain.
Yeah,
you can try to support one of these people. You can try to bring back Azalin. You can try to do something else.
Darkalis Rex might have been the person Aslan replaced as Dark Lord. It's great. And I mean, the plot of like, you got to go back to Greyhawk and track down poor Aslan and bring him back is great, because it's like, wait, is everyone better off? is this domain better off being alive, or should everyone just die? Or should we bring Azalon back so that
maybe the right answer
die?
is like you let Darkon like collapse, but maybe you try to like save the poor like ordinary people who are trapped there, but which would be a pretty fun like campaign to try to figure out. Or because this is Ravenloft, unfortunately the only answer is to keep this horrible purgatory going forever, right. And so you've got to do it,
I like this one a lot because it's got Azalon, my favorite Dark Lord, and it's also got just a kind of a new type of apocalypse that you don't see in like movies, which is like weird magical apocalypse that is just very, very bizarre. So
yeah, it's
not a zombie apocalypse. It's a cool apocalypse.
It's a magic apocalypse.
Well, so that's Darkon revised. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like that this happened with a couple of other Domains of Dread. I like that they were like, this is what happens next. These domains can and do change over editions, and this is what happened to Azalon, or what's the next development, and I like that.
I think tracking Azalon down instead of having the Dark Lord succeed, right, makes a much better disaster horror. We talked about like, the villains have won. And I mean, all the domains are kind of like that. There's a Dark Lord in charge, but they've won again, right? Azalon has won again and he's escaped. It makes it even more scary and interesting, I think, for players to play in. So I think this would be
a terrific high-level campaign. Azalon is a, demi-lich or something, and you've got to track him down and bring him back or whatever, and I think that's great.
Next up is Dementliu.
I love this one, Matt. It's a
city.
One of my favorites. Yes, it's a city. It is a city of noble persons and merchants and strivers who wear masks, and there's constant grand masquerades. There's one every week, and it's run by a horrible masked wraith named Cedra Deonair, who ruthlessly enforces the social hierarchy and punishes anybody who strives to rise above their rank or falsely represents themselves by disintegrating them. I love this for a lot of reasons, but there's some things I would definitely steal from here.
Yeah, no, this is a fun. This is also a redone one with a interesting gender swap, right? I think Dominic D'Honoraire, when we looked at this in second edition, was the first one, and I love the sort of feel of like Ancien Regime, like France or something. That's like everything's falling apart.
Last
Everyone's
days
keeping
of Versailles.
Appearances.
It's late Renaissance Venice or something like that. It's very like decadent. The realm is falling apart, but everybody is obsessed with social status and standing and constantly sort of like striving to appear better off than they are. Everybody is trying to receive favor from the Duchess d'Honoraire and trying to get one over on their neighbors, or there's a specific type of like awfulness to that, which strikes a little too close to home. I'm not sure I would love to like run a long campaign in this, but I also sort of like how uncomfortable this, status obsessed society makes me. I think that would be fun to run a campaign in.
Here's a general comment, Rob, that I was going to save for later, but I'm going to go ahead and plop it down. Is that a lot of these domains, I think, and I said this before, can work very well as just putting this place in your campaign setting with maybe little or almost no modification, right? There can easily be a city-state anywhere in your campaign world that is run by a wraith and that has cursed the land Your players arrive here, and you don't have to explicitly play like a Ravenloft campaign to do this. I think this is just my favorite way to use this stuff, and Ravenloft in general is like, modify it a little bit. Say it's not actually a magical place you can never escape from, and you can use it in your regular campaign. It's still horrifying.
Yeah. The things that I will definitely steal is there's a little bit of detail and some ideas and rules for the Masquerade itself, which I love, right? Just thoughts on what they're trying to accomplish there, how to sort of model and role play these social niceties, the various rituals that you have to perform to fit in upper crust society, dancing. I love this list of sort of like complications that can occur at the Masquerade. I love playing, I love a social encounter, and I really like just sort of this, random list of things that can happen that will throw throw chaos into the ball for the players to have to deal with. This is nothing groundbreaking here, but this is just like a great list of ideas and structure for putting together a Masquerade, which I have to say has got to be one of my favorite set pieces in any book, movie, TV show, and especially like role-playing game. I love a Masquerade ball. It's so much fun.
You buy some like $10 worth of party masks at the party store and actually pass them out to your players. It works great. Love a Masquerade. Next, we've got Falkovia, which is one of the domains we spent a little time talking about on our earlier episode. And this one has also been redone a lot, and I think I really like it.
So if you'll remember, Falkovia was one of my favorites from the old Domains of Dread, and it remains one of my favorites. In fact, this might be my favorite. And it's not groundbreaking or original, but I'll tell you what I love about it. So this is another one that was gender swapped, which I approve of. And here's my general comment. One thing that they have done, it's almost as if they were listening to us, but I commented on the old Domains of Dread that they had just kind of taken a person or character from history or from literature and just very vaguely changed the name. Like there was literally like a
even tell
Dr. Mordenheim and Adam, and then there was Vlad Drakov, basically Vlad Dracul. So what
they
done,
took Vlad the Impaler, and then they took a random NPC from Dragonlance, and they're like, all right, we got a
here's Dark Lord. So what they've done in a few cases is they actually like took the basic idea, which is a good one, and then actually made an original sort of character out of it. And that's what they've done with Vladeska Drakov, who is still a mercenary leader, bloodthirsty, too good, too evil, too cruel. But
still has a coterie of military police that impose martial law upon the land. But the twist is, instead of Falkovia trying to invade other domains, which was always a little goofy, Falkovia itself is now being attacked by endless waves of zombies. It's Left 4 Dead, the domain.
It is, and this is a sort of like your disaster horror setting, and every month a massive horde of zombies comes out of the woods and lays siege to the remaining city, right? The last city in Falkovia. And Vladeska and her talons like gather these poor villagers together and just like sort of throw them at the zombies, and they're constantly trying to come up with ways to survive, to drive them off. And Vladeska is convinced that she will someday be overrun and probably will, and all the zombies have the faces of the people that she's killed. I love this one, and I'll tell you, like, I actually may very well run a campaign here. I love complicated moral decisions, right? If your players end up here, they're faced with sort of like a difficult choice. Like Vladeska Drakov is a murderous, mercenary captain. She's a tyrant, a despot, but she's keeping the realm from being overrun by zombies, right? So your players have to make a decision. Do they help her? Do they fight alongside this military, like, fascist police force? Or do
join
they
the zombies?
Do they join the zombies? Do they try? Do they risk, right, Falkovnia being overrun to overthrow this, like, unjust despot? And I can think of just like 1,000 different ways for this to be a really interesting either starter campaign or midway. This is also something that doesn't necessarily have to be its own domain of dread. You could plop this in all sorts of places.
The last 2 pages of this are kind of sort of details for running a siege arc, right? Which you could almost use in any adventure where you're like, I want a city under siege by zombies, a zombie army. Cool.
Yeah. I really like this one. I think, it's simple, but a domain besieged by zombies is a great D&D setting. It's a lot of, like, fun combat encounters where your players get to feel powerful, but the sort of, like, creeping sense of dread, being overwhelmed by, never-ending waves. Your players are running out of spells. They're taking a little bit of damage. They can't keep it up.
There's new types of zombies too in the monster section. So yeah. I would say, I guess maybe I do miss the impaling.
I was like, why did you take away the impaling? She could still impale people. That's not too on the nose.
I guess I wonder if they were thinking, like, if we make her obviously evil, it takes away the hard choices, but I don't think it does. I don't know. Your judgment on this one. I'd keep the impaling in just to be like, oh, wow. She is incredibly merciless to anyone who breaks the, like, law, doesn't serve in her zombie army, goes out after curfew, that kind of stuff. And then it almost makes more sense, right, that she's incredibly cruel and has her only pleasure, since she can't win against the zombies, is in torturing her subjects.
Yeah, Vladeska is made out to be not good, but more gray, which is fine. But I agree with Matt. I think it'd be more interesting if she were outright like cruel, but still sort of like necessary, right? That sets up, I think, a very interesting moral dynamic. So I would lean in. I would add the impaling back in. I would add some torture back in, some executions of rebels and things. But yeah,
I could see it going the other way. Like, depending on how you want to run it, it could be fine without it. Personally, yeah, I would put it back in.
But yeah, I really liked the update to this one. I thought this was, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
This was so good.
This might have been my favorite update. Okay. One I only wanted to talk about quickly is Harakar or Harakir, which is a more fleshed out Pharaoh Egypt mummy, the Mummy Returns,
The Mummy Returns,
Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon
Mummy
Emperor,
3, the Scorpion King, the Rise of the Scorpion King, anyway, sorry,
Scorpion King's Return, Fast and Furious 5, Fast and Furious presents
Scorpion
Hobbs
King,
and Shaw,
Tokyo Drift,
this is a lot more fleshed out version of, hey, you want curses and tombs and a pharaoh trying to get his part of his soul back, you got it.
And the Dark Lord is Ankh'Tepot, which, I don't know, that's like naming an evil, like, British person, like, Lord English guy. I don't know. It seems a little bit like on the nose for an Egyptian mummy villain. This is a little, it's not actually thin. It's just, like, not very, this is a nice, like, sort of blank template for you to run a cool mummy adventure in. I have no problems with it. It's just not particularly standout, but there's some good stuff here.
Again, this is one of those that you can just plop, I think, anywhere if you want to. Mm-hmm. And then we're back to Haslan.
Haslan.
Our favorite idiot red mage.
Yeah.
Run by Haslick. And this one, I think, got a really cool update, right?
Yeah,
Before it was like,
this was really
this
good.
is a society filled with wizards and Haslin's in control and he's really insecure. That's all still there, except now the land is basically an irradiated wasteland full of crazy magic and all sorts of cool shit, and I love it.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites because this is another good sort of disaster horror setting. The land is overrun by magical disasters from mages doing irresponsible experiments, and the rivers are poisoned, and there's this would be a great place to throw in like living spells and stuff from the Moorlands if you wanted
experiments and magical disasters gone awry, giant sigils across the like very surface of the world. Very cool.
Haslick got a little bit of an upgrade, I think. I don't remember exactly how he was in the old Domains of Dread, but his story is a little bit more interesting. He's got a torrid love affair with another red wizard who he turns into like a living portal, like some hideous abomination, which is fucked up and awesome. Yeah. And his like lover / rival now haunts him whenever he sleeps. So he like gets hopped up on drugs to stay awake for days at a time.
I think that was in the original
was
one.
That in the
Maybe
original?
not the lover stuff, but he didn't like to sleep before.
Okay.
They just made a better reason, I think.
Yeah. He's terrible, but like here's the thing, all the Dark Lords are still terrible. They're all more sympathetic, which I don't think they needed to be. I actually kind of liked, or I don't mind that the like Domains of Dread guys are, here's a really evil person and this is their, eternal torment. But I don't mind it. I don't mind, acknowledging that villains are complex people. Haslick is still a major fail wizard, but he's a little bit more in depth. And this would be, I can think of just like all sorts of great adventures to run in this campaign. This is a good setting for, middle or higher level stuff. There's lots of like magical monsters and experiments and things, good battles for your players to fight, powerful wizards for them to compete with. This is a good one.
Absolutely. The next is one that was a stub in earlier editions, now fleshed out, and that's Ikath. And before, I believe it was ruled just by like the Dark Lord sorceress, who just her thing was hating men, which was
that's
right.
This was I forgot what it was in the old ones. That's right. Yeah, her thing was just she hated men. Yeah.
And now it's a super cool, like, if you want to put in some just really out there stuff. And again, I would love to just drop this into something else. Her city is in fact decaying, and she rules the city. She's a powerful sorceress. Everyone in the city is dreaming, constantly falling asleep. And the city is decaying, and in the dream world, everything's perfect, but everyone ceaselessly toils. Absolutely awesome. Your players can enter the dream world or in the real world. Both are super scary. I love this.
Yeah, and this one's like very obviously influenced more by Chinese, Asian mythology. The Dark Lord is Xian Qiang, who is she's great. Like she's she was driven out of her home and then made friends with a golden dragon who she accidentally killed and like is constantly seeking power. And then in a rebellion, all of her daughters were killed, but she brought them back, but they're monsters.
But now they're like made out of teeth and stuff.
Yeah, they're just great. Horrible. Yeah, like monstrosities. And so like she is like building this dream world, which is perfect, but the real world is slowly decaying, and she can't bring her daughters quite into the dream world, and she, isn't able to get the power and respect and, perfection that she desires. This is a great tense, just real. I mean, it's a nightmare world. It's the real world, the waking world is haunted by Jiangxi and ghosts, and again these monster daughters. All the people are starving.
The cool thing about this one is however you introduce this to your players, I feel like it works really well. Your players enter into the dream world and they're like, everything's perfect, but everyone's working all the time ceaselessly. Like something's not right here. Everything feels not quite real. And then they wake up and then they're in the nightmare of the real. Mm-hmm. Or they show up in the real world and they're like, why is everyone sleeping? What's going on? Eventually they might have to enter the dream world. They're hunted in the real world. It works either way, and I think that's great. Great design. Great thing to use.
This one, I'll admit, this one's a little bit complicated. This I think you're gonna have to think about, but I love it. It's very creepy. It's very horrible. And I think this Dark Lord might be one of my favorites. I love her motivations. I love her backstory. I love like what she wants is both so human, but also so, she's like twisted it beyond like recognition. And this is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Great job on the update on this one.
This one, well updated. Yeah.
Next, we have Kalakiri.
Ooh, I love Kalakiri. And this one's different. This one's interesting. It's a little like less horror, I think, than some of the others, but it's still plenty horrible. And this one's also very clearly...
And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this one is not only just like updated a little bit or updated a lot or completely revised like Ikath. I think this one's brand new. I don't remember seeing this in any of the like lists.
I'd have to check
previous domains. But yeah,
this
anyway,
is
continue.
At best like a thorough update, but this is clearly now, again, based on Indian mythology, like the Indian medieval period. You've got these three siblings, Ramya, Arjani, and Riva. And Ramya is the Dark Lord, defeated her siblings and had them trampled to death by undead elephants. And then this, was transported to this domain of dread. And now Kalakiri is, racked by conflict between these three factions, these three siblings. There's constant like intrigue and violence and rebellion and death and torture. The siblings all hate and love each other. And this is
other two siblings are now like a Rakshasa and an Arcanoloth. And yes, I just checked. This one is brand new. This was written just for this one.
There's a lot of opportunity for interesting monsters and villains. Whenever somebody dies in Kalakiri, they're raised in Ramya's service as an undead warrior.
If you want like a Civil War or like a Cold War Shadows horror game, this is pretty great.
This is also a good one for, again, factions and intrigue and betrayal. There's, Ramya's siblings are constantly trying to undermine her and undermine each other. And they've brought back the renown rules, which I could take or leave.
If I had one critique of this one, it's like 2 pages that could be filled with more interesting stuff are filled with renown rules and tables that don't provide you with like a ton of hooks. Like, I'd rather have a fun set of tables of hooks or more information on interesting locations. Only critique.
I like the Dark Lord here. I like the setting and just the idea of a Cold War of. I love throwing players into the middle of an ongoing conflict and then seeing how they shake out, like what they decide to, who they decide to align with, how they decide
Yojimbo it. Do they pick a side? Have fun with
are they fistful of dollarsing? It's.
And then we're off to the magical himbo land of Carticas.
Our land of rise and grind, Carticas, where everybody is a star.
Everyone's an influencer.
Yeah. Fuck, I swear to... I genuinely, this is this. It's like Instagram. It's like TikTok, the domain of dread. Like everybody wants... The only way for anyone to get ahead is to become a famous performer, and so everybody is has an act, and that's both great and also, again, that hits a little close to home. It's a little bit horrible for me, but I think it's a great setting. And
if I remember correctly from Second Edition, Carticas was just a river with some barges on it or something before, and now it's a whole land, and we've got creepy actor land, creepy theater land. It's
got a lot more going on. It's been updated. It's still got who
run this for your theater kids too.
Yeah, put your theater kids
friends.
Put them through the paces. Make them. The Dark Lord is still Harkon Lucas. He's been given what I think is a tremendous makeover. He's still he's werewolf or wolf were.
Yeah.
And
Loup de Guerre.
That's right. He's a loup garou.
Not Loup de Guerre. What that would be?
That would be a wolf of war or something like that. Yeah, loup garou.
Sorry.
Which I think is and he's the same. I think this is still. He's basically the same, right? He wants to be famous, but
and then everyone's like, you're okay. So mediocre at best.
His curse is everyone forgets him. He comes back to a town and they're like, oh yeah, I thought you retired. He's just he can never get famous, and everybody he trains gets is better than him.
Right. They're like, oh, that was a great song. Is that a cover of so and so's? No,
yes.
I wrote that. God damn it. I'm gonna turn into a wolf and kill you.
And that's the thing, is he gets pissed and he kills people. Again, I would love to play this Dark Lord. I still, just in the old Domains of Dread, I'm still not entirely sure how I would run an adventure here, but I really like the idea, and I would probably try to put this in for at least, a visit, a short, few session encounter. This is also something that could be dropped. It doesn't have to be a Domain of Dread. Yeah.
Right. Harkon Lucas, I think, can function as a cursed werewolf outside of the Domains of Dread in just a regular fantasy campaign. And we should mention that the art of Harkon Lucas portrays this Dark Lord as a black man, which there's not a lot of people of color, at least in the original.
There are not. And there were some...
and this is great.
Racist complaints about Harkon Lucas. But like I said, the makeover is great. He looks awesome. He's got a sweet red violin. I also like how he looks kind of friendly.
He's the friendly Dark Lord. He's not scary when you meet him. He wants to be your friend and impress you.
And that's the thing, is I would love to throw this guy in without a lot of introduction, and he's friendly and he's excited and passionate, and then he's he has these fits of rage, right? And then he flies off the handle and turns into a loup garou and kills some people. He's one of my favorite Dark Lords. His update is great. I would borrow Harkon Lucas, if nothing else, from Carticas. He remains top tier. Huge fan.
Right. You absolutely can. And what an easy NPC. This is why it was one of my favorite ones. What an easy NPC, at least for me, to role play, right?
Yeah.
You take everything you've collected about sort of entitled petty rock stars or pop stars, and that's a fun NPC to role play for your characters to either then maybe hate, then have to deal with.
Yeah, what a great NPC. Huge fan. Next up, we've got a revised classic, Lamordia.
It's Frankenstein land. Everyone's Frankenstein. Yeah.
This is another gender swap.
Dr. Frankenfurter.
That people got.
Sorry. Yeah.
Another gender swap that people got pissed about for no reason. It doesn't matter. Victor Mordenheim is now Victra Mordenheim. And again, this is just like what I mentioned with the update to Falkovnia, where they took what was, again, just a flat 1-to-1 transition. They were
right. We just took 130 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old novel in the public domain and made a domain out of it to something a little more interesting.
Yeah. So again, I thought Victor Mordenheim and Adam were fun, but this is so much better. Now it's Victor Mordenheim, and her sort of monster is Elise, who was her lover and partner, and she created this unique and powerful artifact that revived her but turned her into a monster. And so now Elise is running around in Lamordia trying to undo what Victra is doing, and Victra is trying to find Elise. And this is what I'm talking about when like borrow, steal, but like add a little bit. And you don't have to add a lot, but like this just little bit of twist on the Victor, or on the Frankenstein story, makes it recognizable and interesting, right? It's good to play in a campaign or draw on themes that your players will recognize, but adding some twist to it is also important. And yeah, Lamordia is great.
One of the things that I think is really great about Lamordia, just for every dungeon master, is like some of the towns and locations, which are, have some really cool details, would be great if you want to put in like a evil scientist city in your campaign. This is also super cool.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting settings to me. It's more of like a steampunk setting. There's universities with, again, mad scientists. There's steam-powered factories that boil the sewers, right? They don't boil water. They boil sewers to, like, power their machines.
Yep.
There's, like, whaling vessels that go out and kill, like, horrible monsters in the, in the Sea of Secrets. This is one of my favorite just, like, settings from the Domains of Dread. I could run a much longer campaign in Lamordia. I think I have a lot of ideas here. I would also borrow a lot of this just for any campaign setting. It's definitely, in terms of setting, much, much more interesting than a lot of the others.
Yeah, I love the changes to the main characters and all the additions of other science stuff. I did notice that no longer is Adam/Elise the Dark Lord of Lamordia. But it's Dr. Victra Mordenheim is the Dark Lord.
That was a fun twist in the original Domain of Dread, but it makes sense for Victra to be the Dark Lord.
Yeah. It would also be very easy for you to let the players think Victra is the Dark Lord, but then it's actually Elise.
I think that's a change that you could choose to make that would be great either way.
Right. The next one, which I don't have too much to say, but Mordant is your ghost story one. It's the home of Van Richten himself. And lots of people took one that was just a guy, an asshole who's annoyed by ghosts, and added a lot of fuel for ghost stories. So that's cool.
I also don't have a ton to say about this. It's not particularly interesting to me. It is more fleshed out. It is interesting if you want to run a ghost story campaign, but again, a little bit like the Egypt one, it's not bad. It's just kind of like a blank canvas. If you want to run a, sort of like late Victorian seance, alienist, tarot card reading, Order of the Golden or Dawn type of thing, this would be a good setting for it. But it's fine.
Next we have Richmulo, which is, am I saying that right? Who knows?
Richmulat, something like that.
Richmulat. It's very French sounding.
Richemilo?
It's our one full of Jacqueline Rainier, who is our were-rat. Noble, full of plagues. If you want a plague city, this is good. And also a city ruled by were-rats. That's kind of cool.
I love
land.
This one.
There's 3 cities.
This is one of my favorites. And we talked about Jacqueline Rainier in the old Domains of Dread because she was just like, here's a sexy were-rat. Yeah. She's now been given like a much better backstory. She's got a lot better motivations. And this, I like this a lot. It's a domain that is overrun by plague. Like it's just constantly being breakout of the gnawing plague. And whenever it gets too bad, Jacqueline's secret police like lock down everybody and put them in quarantine. If you want to run Mask of the Red Death or any number of like, there's just like tons of like excellent plague campaigns. like it's just like a great setting for any horror campaign, any fantasy, adventure. There's just like a lot. It's good.
It's also, I think, there could be a fun conspiracy theory campaign here in that, like, Jacqueline Renier hates everyone who isn't a were-rat. And so it's like, the rulers are were-rats. We didn't know that. Ah, crap.
She's got these the state police, her guards are actually like animated armor filled with swarms of rats. Like that's like a great thing to like, oh wait, hang on. Not only is this like your players arrive,
Scooby-Doo pulls off the mask and it's just a swarm of rats. Oh no.
Your players arrive and like the city's locked down in plague and they get attacked by the police and they find out the police are actually just rats. This is good. This is one of my favorites. It's really interesting. Maybe you don't want to play maybe you're a little bit tired of plague, pestilence, pandemics. Maybe you wait on this one, but
pass for a couple decades or so.
I liked the setting a lot.
Next to last, we have Tempest, which is our folk horror campaign.
That's right. This is Wicker Man.
Mother.
This is Midsommar. This is The Witch.
Right.
This one's like,
the Baba Yaga.
This one's very on the nose, but I like it a lot. The Dark Lord is Mother Lorinda, a hag who like makes herself out to be a benevolent like mother goddess. And Tempest is great because it like all is well in Tempest, right? The fields grow and there's always a bountiful harvest. Everybody's friendly and beautiful. And then it turns out it's because they sacrifice people to horrible, ancient deities. You love it. I fucking love it. It's just like such a classic horror fantasy trope. This is again,
Mother is watching.
Yes.
She has priests and she can crawl out of their empty eye sockets to appear whenever she wants. There's evil fae stalking the areas that aren't protected by Mother, so you better get on Mother's good side.
That's right.
Because Mother loves you.
Mother loves you. There's something called the tithe that happens, and it's like everyone's like, oh boy, it's almost time for the tithe, and like your player's gonna be like, okay, that sounds like pretty like. That doesn't sound great.
Sounds bad.
And then, like, you guessed it, it's human sacrifice. Anyway, this is fun. I really like this. I would run.
It will be okay that your characters guess it's human sacrifice, because I think it will still be fun. So
I also, there's little like, this is clearly like a labor of love, fan of the genre. There's just a bunch of good stuff here. Lorinda is the way she is because she lost her daughters and sisters and is trying to bring them back, trying to, constantly replace them somehow. And, the tithe involves the appearance of a monster like a giant upright ram or a humanoid like made of wicker, stitched together corpses,
eats someone and is in fact Mother Lamorta's daughter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Giant shrieking bipedal sheep. Like these are just like great folk horror monsters. Absolute excellent. I'm just a huge fan of this setting. It's weird, it's creepy. It's my favorites of these are ones where you can drop your players in and then they figure it out. To me, that's like the excitement of a horror setting is it's scary and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And so like my favorites are ones like Tempest or Richten or Blutspur, where something's obviously wrong. ICAF is another great one, and they have to figure it out, and it's creepy while they're doing it. Yeah, Tempest is great. This is hers.
Tell me!
I think it, yeah.
How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
That, my friend, is your destiny.
It is your destiny.
Back up!
You will sit beside the gods and goddesses for all of eternity.
Back up! I swear to God I won't shoot you! And you're doing it for nothing! Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey! Oh, what is it? 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 Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to our last full Domain of Dread, Valachan, which we talked about before, which also had a major revision. This was the most dangerous game.
That's right.
Domain originally.
That's right. And I liked it because it was like it was very short. It was just like it's the most dangerous game. You're hunted, and yeah. Who was the old Dark Lord? The old Dark Lord was
he had another like Kharkov.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was Ulrich von Kharkov, and the new Dark Lord is somebody who killed Ulrich von Kharkov, because as it turns out, the Dark Lord is whoever wins the most.
The apex predator of the domain, which is great. And it definitely, it's like, do you want to end this endless hunt? Well, you gotta become the new Dark Lord and keep the hunt going. There's another new thing added instead of the new Dark Lord, Chakuna,
I think.
Hunting everyone, she sort of sets up a hunger game.
That's right. Now instead of the most dangerous game, it's a Hunger Games. You're a group of people is introduced and they have to.
Time marches on. We've moved from dangerous game to hunger game.
They have to fight each other again. This
says a lot about society, I think.
Yeah, we live in a society, Matt. I think. And there's like a few rules, but not that many, and then. Once you reach the shrine. Yeah, I love this because, it's a Hunger Games, which is a fun plot. And then you present your players, they very this is a great way for somebody to retire a character is, they can become the new Dark Lord of Volachan, but they have to place their heart in the shrine and eat Chakuna's heart. But then,
which is what she did to Kharkov. And she keeps his head around, though. So that's fun.
And, they may choose to do that. This is a good update to Volachan. Right. It's a little bit more interesting. It's got a little bit more detail. This is a great, if you're running like a hunt or slasher campaign or just like
the movie,
this would be a high
Predators.
Action. Yes. Exactly. A
Predators. Right. When the players arrive and they're put into the trial of the hearts, right? The other folks in it, instead of being natives, could also be visitors to the domain, expert hunters just like themselves. Hunt your players. This is fun. It. And that's the last of our domains. I think we should quickly talk about some of our favorites from we're given like another 20 domains that are written up in just a paragraph or two.
Yeah. Some of these are great, some of them are fine. I have 3 that I really like. Matt, I think you and I are both know which one we're fans of. And
it's Sire 1313, the morning rail.
Yes, it's a ghost train. I fucking love this so much. It's so good.
Choo choo, all aboard. Can't stop the ghost train.
Yeah. These are just blurbs. This is so good. I know why. I'm glad they didn't give more detail because it gives you a chance to make it your own, but it's such a good idea. It's a ghost train that was trapped in the morning. It's the Dark Lord is the last passenger. You have no idea who it is. He's like in the very back of the train. You could run like a Snowpiercer, trying to fight your way to the back. I mean, ugh.
It's perfect in that if you have an NPC, if you're playing an Eberron campaign too, if you have an NPC that the players are seeking or something, and they ended up, they're dead. Some ancient person, they were the last passenger. That's who the last passenger is. And they delayed the train. They caused it to get stuck in the morning, which is so
all
good.
The passengers hate them and they're dead. And, it's so good. I can think of so many
train cars are just rooms in a dungeon. It's great.
This is just like a linear dungeon. Sorry, I love this so much. You could do so much with this. Yeah, huge fan.
Yeah. What's the next one you liked?
I
would point out here a lot of the old ones that didn't get lots of these are old ones that didn't get Seer 1313 is new. Sorry, Sire 13.
Sire 1313 is new.
But a lot of the old ones, they're like, all right, let's just give these didn't have a lot going for them. Let's give them just a quick write up.
I like Nova Vasa, which is just it's basically like a nomadic tribe, and the Dark Lord is someone who has a split personality and, transforms into a raging murder knight whenever, provoked. Not a lot here, but I can already imagine some cool things to do with this. I think this is a fun and unique setting.
I liked the two I liked were Chlor, which is a bunch of floating islands in the cosmos that are about to be destroyed. No one knows why. That's just really out there and cool. And the Sea of Sorrows, which brings back our favorite pirate Dark Lord that we talked about last time.
Sea of Sorrows is great. I kind of wish that they had made this one a full Domain of Dread, but this is a great one, yeah. Petra Van Rees and her Flying Dutchman. And yeah, this is a great one.
We've also got Cass's domain detailed here. If you ever want to do a Vecna campaign and find out where Cass is, the vampire who took Vecna's eye in hand, here he is in Tovog.
In Tovog, that's a good one. The other one I like is the Vaj Agency, which is so great. It's sort of this otherworldly like bureaucracy where the Dark Lord Filmira Vaj gives out like cases, but I could also just see you running. Matt, you didn't play Control, did you? The video game. It's really good. It takes place in sort of like an otherworldly house of leaves bureaucracy, where like kind of an agency where nothing is as it seems, and geometry is all weird, and it's very like Lovecraftian.
This is your like noir horror. Right.
Yes.
Turns out that the agency was the real villain the whole time.
Yes, exactly. A lot of these are good, but yeah, those are my favorites for sure.
Last but not least, I don't think I have too much to say about any of these. We're given a bunch of wandering NPCs that we've alluded to before. Yonder Sunstar, you're not Sherlock Holmes, Ez D'Avnir, the Van Richtens, the Caller, and some details on the Keepers of the Feather and the Vistani, which we've already talked about the revisions to these when we were talking about Candlekeep Mysteries. The introduction and revisions to these, respectively.
Which are great. I love all these Mist Wanderers.
Vistani are a culture now, I should point out.
That's right. I love this. Everybody can be a Vistani, right? Anybody can be adopted into the Vistani society. It's no longer racist. A+ improvements. Yeah, you got your Mist Wanderers, your heroes. I think these are very interesting and great people to introduce. I'm a big fan of Alnick Ray and Arthur Sedgwick, gay detectives. And I also really like the Weathermay Foxgrove twins, just because I really like saying Weathermay Foxgrove.
Yes.
And I also like, sorry, real quick. I like Jander Sunstar and Savra Sunstar because these are basically like Blade. They're vampires, or in Savra's case, a Dampier that fight vampires. This is I love a vampire who fights vampires. Can never get enough of a vampire who fights vampires.
They're daywalkers. Sunstar walkers.
Sunstar walkers.
And there we are. That's Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. I think, surprised at how much I like this, in that like horror is not my thing. But this is a really good book, I think.
I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, actually, I was very surprised. I was delighted by this book, and I wasn't expecting to be. Horror is not also not my really like favorite genre. And I was inspired to run a campaign. I got a lot of good ideas. This was also interesting and fun to read, which even for books I like from Wizards is not common. This was enjoyable from start to finish. I am a big fan of this book. I have very few criticisms. The parts I didn't like are far outweighed by the parts I did like, and they didn't really detract from the rest of the book at all. This is definitely, I mean, it would be hard to call it my favorite because each book kind of has its own different focus, but this is far and away one of my favorite Wizards books of 5th edition for sure.
Something I noticed between our first and second episode is that in the credits, Wizards for this book hired some cultural consultants. It definitely shows in that
it shows.
there's less or fewer or none cringe moments of like, God, that seems inappropriate.
Yeah, and I don't know all of the writers, but I do know. So Cassandra Kaw is a horror writer who I've followed, and wrote the Rupert Wong Cannibal Chef books. Great to follow on Twitter. Writes some really like good horror. Also, Molly Ostertag is a writer here, and K. Tempest Bradford. There's lots of. There's also some. I mean, there's some new names, there's some old names, but they clearly are taking our constant, not ours, but like everybody's constant and never-ending criticism of their books and writing to heart and trying to improve. And Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft definitely shows that it is working.
Yes, absolutely. And I would also like point out that one of the domains that we talked about, Kalkiri, which is very much inspired by mythology and folktales of the Indian subcontinent, is written by Ajit George, who is Indian. So that is cool, and I think that's why maybe it didn't suck, or have not that it didn't suck. It's like it didn't have the cringe moments.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
why it didn't feel so. Yeah, it didn't feel the way that it often does.
A lot of it didn't feel the sort of Orientalist tropes.
Yes.
Yeah, good job on that.
So yeah, this comes highly recommended from Dungeon Master of None. I hope you've enjoyed our review. We've got a lot of things coming up and are excited to talk about them.
Thanks for listening, everyone. A sincere thank you to you.
Write us at dmofnone@gmail.com. Add us on Twitter at dmofnone. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/dungeonmasterofnone.
Let us know what your favorite Domain of Dread was from this, or other interesting ways you might have to use one of these in any campaign. Send us a message. Stay in touch.
Stay spooky, don't get murdered, and keep rolling them dice.